Hey guys, how's it going? In this video, I want to talk to you about 8K. Do you need it, and should you start upgrading your entire system? But before we get into that, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button if you're into home audio and theater videos. And please hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when the next video drops. Okay, so 8K. Do you need it, and should you upgrade all the components in your system for 8K? In short, I say no. And I got a lot of reasons why. For one, there's just simply not enough content out there. For the most part, for the last several years, Hollywood has been filming the majority of their movies, TV shows, really anything in 4K. Now, they do definitely have cameras with 6K sensors and 8K sensors and even beyond. When these studios are in the finishing process of editing the video together and making all their changes and adding effects, when it's all said and done, they're going to put that down to a 4K DI, and then they'll distribute that for Blu-ray release and streaming release. So they're just simply not finishing the movie at 8K. Now, on the other side of the content spectrum, that being TV, streaming services, YouTube, there's just, again, not a whole lot of 8K content out there right now. You will find some exceptions with like YouTube, but for the most part, not many people are filming in 8K. 8K cameras are very expensive, and the raw power needed to process that video is pretty great, and it's just not feasible for these smaller creators and YouTubers to film in 8K. Now, another thing to consider too is the transition time it took for Hollywood and all the major television studios to upgrade their entire infrastructure to give us full HD 1080p. Back in the late 1990s, around 1998, people started talking about HD and 1080p. It wasn't until 2006 where we saw people really starting to talk about full HD 1080p. And the transition period from standard definition to just HD, and in some cases it wasn't even just full 1080p, it was like 720p. That took about 14 years. Now, if you consider that it took that long, how long do you think the transition is going to take from 1080p, which is what we have right now for the most part, to a fully 8K infrastructure, meaning the cameras, all the gear needed to give us that content? We're not even in a fully 4K infrastructure yet. Now, it is starting to get a little bit more popular, and these television studios and of course Hollywood is investing in filming stuff in 4K and getting their infrastructure upgraded to give us that content. But you can't really get that many TV channels, cable, satellite, streaming in 4K. So if we've barely upgraded our infrastructure to give us 4K content, how long do you think it's going to take to get us 8K content? It's going to take a very long time. And then my last reason why I don't think you need to be upgrading your entire system to 8K is because, for the most part, it's not a drastic leap up. There was a pretty substantial difference in standard definition 480i to 1080p full HD, and then an even bigger step up from full HD to 4K. But the jump from 4K to 8K, even though essentially it is almost double the amount of vertical and horizontal lines, the human eye is really getting to the point where they can't really tell a big difference. You'd have to be within a few feet to really notice a huge difference. And even then, is it worth it? Personally, right now, I don't think it is. Now, there is a caveat to everything I'm saying. The tech industry has already started getting 8K out into the mainstream. They're already starting to put it in AVRs, for example. And of course, you can buy 8K TVs for as little as $2,800 last I checked. But again, involved in TVs, AVRs, sound bars, processors, you name it, have already started to get everything ready for 8K. Now, this is pretty common because these manufacturers want to sell you something. They want you to buy next year's product. So one year you'll have an AVR that was able to do 4K, and then the next year, bam, it's able to do 8K. So there's no harm in getting anything that is going to give you the ability to view and watch 8K. But if you already have your system in place and it's 4K ready, meaning you got a 4K player, 4K streamer, 4K projector, 4K AVR, 4K TV, whatever it is, if you're already able to do all those things, I say wait a couple of years, definitely until the prices go down, and then maybe upgrade your entire system. But you're gonna have to think of everything that goes into upgrading your system in order to get you 8K. I mean, you got to think about the display, you got to think about the AVR, you got to think about the cables, and you got to think about, most importantly, where you're going to get that content. And a lot of the gear to upgrade your entire system to 8K is going to be quite pricey. So for those reasons, I say you wait a couple of years until the prices come down and there's more content. So of course, all this is just my opinion, and I know some of you might disagree. If you can think of a good reason why you should start upgrading everything to 8K, definitely leave a comment down below. So that about does it for this video. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please help me get to 1,000 subscribers and hit the subscribe button. It's free. And if you are into home theater and audio videos, please hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when the next video drops. Thanks, and happy listening.